We are live. Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3, dadgummit. Today is Sunday, October the 6th, 2024. We are about 24 hours after Auburn lost its fourth game of the season, 31-13. Was that right?
Yes.
Yep. 31-13 to Georgia. Saw some good things, saw some not so good things, but I don't know. We'll see what everybody's got to say. We'll go ahead and get on the phone line, 701-779-9585. We want to hear what you have to say. Joining me, as always, 100% of the time when they are here, look at Cole, big dog. Oh, Cole Pinkston and Alan Head. How about you, big dog?
Got the bird dog tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it the bird dog or the rowback?
Oh.
I was about to say. Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
I'm sorry, Roback. I'm wearing your shirt.
Well, they won't ever see this. Is it the Albie or what is yours?
Yeah, it's the same one
Okay.
you got. It's the same one. Got the Albies on it.
Looking spiffy tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw Jeffrey in it, and I thought, well, if I could look like that.
Oh, I know, right?
You can
look
try.
at him turn red.
Yeah. Auburn 31-13 losers in Athens, Georgia to the mighty Georgia Bulldogs. Fellas, I'm going to be honest with you. We saw some pretty decent football from Auburn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I did. No turnovers. Some penalties. Costly penalties.
Yes, specifically the first series.
But, otherwise, not too shabby, I think. Would you agree we saw some improvement overall?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I felt like it was kind of a continuation of what you saw against Oklahoma. I don't know that we got significantly better, but we certainly didn't get worse. And it's still more of a brand of competent football in the vein of what you would have thought we would have played starting game, or at least the Cal game, right? Like that was kind of the down tick for our level of expectation for what this team was capable of.
Well, I'm curious to hear what the watchers and the listeners have to say before we get to the phone lines. I want to remind everybody, if you're in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, you're looking to sell your house, looking to buy your house, looking to maybe buy an investment property, it's a fantastic time to do so, and you look no further for some help. It's Jessica Andrus with the Talents Group, 334-704-4444-4442. A lot of fours in that number, but by God, don't be confused. She is an absolute consensus 5-star realtor. If you don't believe me, just ask Alan Ed. He'll show you how many fingers. He ain't putting up 4, folks. He ain't putting up 4. There's a reason. Full-fingered. Full-fingered hand, 5-star realtor. She's fantastic. Anybody that's ever used her will tell you the same thing. Look her up. She is legitimately a 5-star realtor. Give her a call if you need some help in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, 334-704-4442. And as always, tell her we sent you. All right, folks. Zach has come to the front. Let's hear what some of these fine folks, have to say about Auburn's loss to Georgia.
I think this guy's been on the call line since yesterday.
Okay.
We're going to open the show, as always, our guy Kevin from Wilmer. Kevin, you're live, my man.
Kevin from Wilmer, Alabama.
What's happening, Kevin? How about you, big dog? What's on your mind?
We did really good with no interception.
I completely agree.
That's true.
Completely agree, Kevin. I thought that was a huge positive.
And we still can go 8-4.
It's scientifically possible.
It is that.
I like it, Kevin.
And my favorite Auburn football player is Cam Coleman.
Yeah? What'd you think about his performance against Georgia?
He did good.
Okay. All right. How you feeling? You think
number 5 kid? Lambert.
Lambert Smith. He's a fantastic ball player.
Yes, he is.
And how about Deuce not committed to Auburn now?
How about you called it there, Kevin?
Somebody told us that it was going to happen, Kevin.
Yeah.
Somebody told us it was going to happen.
I bet he will be talking to Alford that that number Alfred.
Oh, Alfred. Who are you talking about, Kevin? What positions he play?
I think Kevin.
Defense
Are you talking about Alford?
from Park.
Oh,
Offer.
yeah. Name offer.
Oh, Naeem Alford.
High School.
Yes, I think that's a huge boost for Auburn with Naeem, getting a guy like Deuce Knight as well as others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. This is a good time for a bye week, Kevin. I think Auburn's got the first half of the season behind them.
How about KJ Lacey?
Well,
I saw KJ Lacey.
Can't have them all.
I saw him Friday night. He was not playing.
Kevin, you still want KJ Lacey, even though you got Deuce Knight? Hey,
that was
Kevin,
Wanda laughing at you now.
Kevin still wants KJ Lacey.
Understandable.
Yeah, I still do.
I hear you, big dog.
You never have enough quarterbacks.
As we have learned.
No doubt.
All right, Kevin. Wanda got anything to add this week?
Wanda had her earrings on. She was pulling for Auburn.
Okay.
She had her lucky earrings on.
Yeah.
Well, you treat her like a queen tonight, Kevin, with those queen earrings on.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, we're going to be looking for you.
We might see you November 2nd.
Come on with it, big dog. I'm going to write it down. Vandy, Auburn. Kevin from Wilmer's coming. Forget Vandy. Kevin from Wilmer's coming to town, by George.
That's right.
War Eagle.
All right, appreciate you, Kevin. War Eagle, buddy. Let me know if you come to November 2nd. We will definitely meet up.
Oh, 0553. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Cole from Noonan. How you guys doing?
Cole from
Tank.
Noonan.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you what, it may be just the misery that's in the air wafting from Tuscaloosa, but I'm going to pump a little sunshine right now.
Oh, go for it, Cole. Let's hear it.
So, look, I think three things. Number one, it occurs to me, we've talked a lot about Freeze and kind of Napier being the, nightmare scenario. DJ Lagway committed to Florida in December of 2022.
Yes.
Napier had to hold on to him for a year. And the Florida he signed with was a very different Florida than what he committed to. Deuce Knight committing in October to a 2-3 Auburn is a huge signal to everybody that's a stakeholder in this program. It buys Hughes time. It gets buy-in from the money people, from our current roster, from our current recruits. It's a big freaking deal. Number two, look, this is the first time in a long time that I've seen Auburn get consistently better over the course of 4 games. Now, we played like crap to start off with. We started at low, but we have gotten consistently better over the last 4 football games. And I can't remember the last time I could say that about an Auburn football team. And then number 3, look, we started off, thinking that this 5-game home stretch was going to be a great way to start off the schedule for Auburn, and that didn't pan out. But looking at it now, we have a chance to end the season with an upshot, with momentum. If you can coach these guys well over a 2-week buyout, a two-week period, and keep these guys focused and bought in, I tell you what, we head into Missouri, I think we're a better football team than they are. I think we're a better football team than Kentucky. And I think you can roll with some momentum and build that toward the end of the season. And I think this to me right now, I may be just sunshine pumping, but 6-6 isn't a long shot. I think that's doable. And I think you end 6-6 now with the way we started this season. I think that's some real momentum, and we can sell that. So I'm pumping some sunshine today. I'm feeling a little better, guys.
I like Cole. Did you walk away from watching that game Saturday and go, I feel pretty good, or was it a good? Because that's kind of how I'm measuring this season, and I walked away from that game Saturday, and I was like, I saw a lot of good things.
Mm-hmm.
Saw a lot of good things that I hadn't seen before.
I'm with you. I like what I see from our young guys. Those guys are getting better.
Yes.
We seem to have found an offensive rhythm. We're doing things that are smart and systematic. It looked like for the first time in a while we had a game plan. Our guys are competitive. They're hitting. So even if we're giving up 5 yards, we're going to make the running back pay for it. And I like the physicality of this team. There's a lot of good things. Now, I mean, we're not even just a good quarterback away from winning that football game, but we are, I think, a good quarterback, a good left tackle, and continued development of the talent that we've brought in away from beating Georgia. And I think that's doable, by next season. I thought there was some real progress from what I saw on Saturday versus what I saw against Cal.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
In this football team.
Fantastic call, Cole. I completely agree. I think some of the more I'd like to consider myself level-headed. So my expectations are probably lower than some of these others who think Auburn should be going 9-3. This team is what it is. And it's not an 8 or 9 win team.
No.
I think that's your goal. I think going into the season, that's your goal. But it is what it is. I think we talked about, I think it was last week when last year's teams was just such highs and such lows, and it was high and low and high. At least we're seeing it's becoming, in my opinion, more consistent. I think Auburn has progressed each week against P4 teams.
Yeah.
I think they got better against Oklahoma. I think they got better against Georgia. I'm really curious to see what they do against this very good Vanderbilt team. That's in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3.
You got the bye, Missouri, Kentucky, Vanderbilt.
Oh, you go on the road 2 more times. That's right. I know that. It's October.
And Missouri looked I know A&M was a decent team, but Missouri looked really bad this weekend. I mean, that game wasn't competitive from kickoff.
I'm not going to beat my chest here on this one. But I've been saying for a while that I thought Missouri was beatable. They just don't look the same as they did last year. Brady Cook's a good quarterback. He's not great. Luther Burden is one of the best wide receivers in the country. And that's about it as far as Missouri is concerned, in my opinion. So if Auburn can make them one-dimensional, try to take Luther Burden out of the game, we'll see where we stand. We're going to have to continue to develop offensively. That's the big thing that you have to take strides with. But I will say this. The good thing is Missouri, it is not in the realm of what Georgia is defensively. Okay? It's not even close.
So Auburn moved the football. Hell, look at the stat sheet of Auburn's offense. And I thought Cole Pinkston had a fantastic post on the corner today, the Auburn Live message board. I love the defense. I know they gave up 31, but I love seeing Jay Crawford and Kinsley, all these true freshmen and sophomore. There's a lot.
I think that's the encouraging part of it, right? Is the young contributors. The
Marcus Riddick.
Malik Walkton. Yeah.
Kinsley Faustin.
Yes. I thought he played fantastic.
He had a good game. He gave up one late, but listen, I mean, he just got thrown in the fire. They're to the bottom of the barrel at corner.
Look, and I know K and Lee got roughed up some in that game, but when you look at his PFF grade and you saw, I mean, he was typically matched up on their best wide receiver pretty much throughout the game. So understand that he's still developing as well. There are a lot of young pieces on this team that are growing and learning and developing with each and every game. Now, I don't know if we can get to 6 wins.
I hear you.
But even if you get to 5 and 7, given where you're coming from, to me, that shows improvement down the stretch. That means you go 500 in your next 6 games to get to 5 and 7. Now, that's not where Auburn fans want to live. That's not what the expectation should be. But in my opinion, if you finish this recruiting class the way you need to, and you get to 5-7, 6-6, that would be significantly better than the way you started the season. That's for sure.
Do you guys think we have to win both these next 2 road games to have a chance at 6-6?
Yes, because I don't know that you can beat A&M at home
True.
or both of A&M and Vandy.
That's what I was thinking.
I know people are going to say it's Vanderbilt, but I don't think you can say that after the victory they just came off of. And look, I also know that they lost to Georgia State. I get it.
Yeah.
Well,
But Diego Pavia and the way they run that offense, the ball control that they utilize, I think it's a recipe for disaster for us to be matched up against them. And so the only difference is Auburn will not be underestimating Vanderbilt when they come into town.
Yeah.
They will have full attention. This won't be a New Mexico State. Cole, go ahead. Jump in here, man.
no, I feel like I got Auburn's defense dialed in pretty good right now. 31 points was exactly what my prediction was for Georgia before the game. That felt like what they were going to score, which is kind of putting a cap on what I think is a really good offense in Georgia. Very clean operation they run and can run the football when they really want to. So I felt like Auburn ran out of juice. But listen, college football is so much about matchups now. So much about matchups. When you're talking about matchups, actually, I think I like the way that Auburn matches up with Vandy because they are very run disciplined and they are very good at gap integrity. Where they struggle is, late in games. Well, number one, because of depth.
Mm-hmm.
They struggle when teams are starting to connect in the passing game because they don't play the ball very well. They cover well, but they don't play the ball very well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So that's why they give up these long, demoralizing drives at times and make the other team look like they can't miss because they don't play the ball well. And then they couldn't stop the run against Georgia as well as they have all year. Now, they weren't terrible against it, but definitely gave up some big plays there, some chunk plays in the run game. But listen, the team that they don't match up well with, unfortunately, is Alabama.
No, they don't.
And Alabama just lost to Vanderbilt, but I actually like the matchup better with Vanderbilt than I do with Alabama, if that makes sense. You got to look at the matchup. That's a big deal.
Sense. Look, the talent ceiling at Alabama is through the roof, okay? They had no business dropping that game against Vanderbilt. They played with their food the entire first half and then tried to turn it on in the second half, and they just didn't have enough juice to get it going or to get it finished off anyway. But if Alabama's playing at their high and Vanderbilt's playing at their high, you're taking Alabama 10 out of 10. But that's not how the game is played, right? Those games are played on emotional highs and lows. Alabama was not prepared to come into that game, not from an emotional investment standpoint. The energy just wasn't there. And Vanderbilt played it like it was their Super Bowl. And credit to Clark Lee for getting them up and ready for that game.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but that's if you're Auburn right now, you have to get up on an emotional high from Missouri and Kentucky. Like you cannot walk into those games not mentally prepared and emotionally invested to play at your absolute best. You don't have enough talent on your team to do that. Not in my opinion.
Well, you can ask Nick Saban, how much fun it is to play an option heavy offense. You better be disciplined.
Yes, sir.
You better be disciplined. And that's something I think Auburn is pretty disciplined on defense. I've been very impressed with that aspect of defense. Now, offense is a different story. I don't think the discipline on offense is great at all. I could be wrong, but that's the way I've seen it this year.
I thought they were more disciplined in this game than they have been.
I would agree with that.
And that's where I will agree with Jeffrey that we took a step forward. I thought as far as play calling, and there were still some lapses, right? Like Malcolm Simmons dropped that big catch. They had a one-on-one to Cam Coleman. You know what I mean? And they just overthrew it a little bit, or maybe Cam bent his route. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't watched that one enough. I'm looking forward to Cole's film room on that. But there were some plays there to be had that could have made this game closer than it was.
Definitely.
And we just, you didn't execute in moments that you had to have it. And then obviously the most glaring example, the one that's been magnified on social media, is the fourth and one that we didn't convert, where it was kind of I guess we don't really know, but it more or less a busted zone read that Georgia defended absolutely to a T. So if we make half of those critical plays, maybe that game is tighter, right? But you didn't, and it is what it is. Now you get an opportunity to go in at the bye week and hopefully come out and you're mentally prepared to play Missouri and get your season started off right for the second half.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, Cole. Appreciate your call, big dog. Always appreciate your call.
4220. You're live. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey y'all, it's Austin from Pastor Sham, Mississippi.
All right, Austin. How about you, big dog?
Pastor Shan?
I'm feeling
First-
a little pensive this evening.
A little.
I'm sitting here wondering. First, I'd like to talk to, I guess, where I think our standing in the SEC kind of as a program right now is, because I think we kind of came into the season right with expectations, whether they were high or low, right? I mean, we were a team that came in with expectations, and as far as the first half of the season's gone, we have not lived up to those. But then, whether that be by player execution, coach play calling, or coach execution, I guess you can call it, whatever it is, for whatever reason we haven't measured up. But then I look across where other teams in the SEC are, and I believe that our position kind of is somewhat dictated based off of where other teams are as well. And you got two teams in Arkansas and Florida whose coaches came in on seats that were so hot there was betting lines about who was going to get fired first and were they going to make it to week 4 or not. And now I'm not going to say that they're on, their jobs are not safe, but their seats are a lot cooler than they were.
Fair.
And I see us trending in the other direction. Again, not saying that Hugh Freeze's seat is hot by any stretch of the word, but hotter than it was at the beginning of the season, I think. And I kind of been wondering, with other programs kind of trending up, that there's only so many spots, right? And the SEC is not going to be 1 through 16 in every college football poll that comes out, but I do believe there are a limited number of spots in every tier for the SEC, right? We're not all going to be, there's not going to be 16 top tier teams in the SEC. There's only a certain number of teams that can go anywhere, and we're playing a zero-sum game here. For everything that an Arkansas does well, someone like an Auburn has to do something poorly and kind of flip-flop around a little bit there. So I kind of just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on kind of where we're at program-wise, where you see us going. The other half of this equation obviously being that Arkansas and Florida are not recruiting like Auburn is currently either. So that obviously plays in as well, but it's kind of a 2 in the bush, 1 in the hand sort of situation, right? Do you want to continue to, we don't really know what these high school recruits are going to be, right? We think we know, but we don't know. And they're kind of in a better spot, I would argue, right now than we are. So I'll let y'all get to it. Thank y'all for taking my call. Y'all have a good night.
Good stuff, Austin. Where do you think Auburn stacks up program-wise in the SEC?
Well,
Bottom half.
it depends on what picture you're looking at. Are you looking at the picture of this season? They're in the bottom 3.
How about trajectory?
Well, that's to me, I don't see why you would look at it. That's just the way I do it. I know how fans are. I got that. I have to remind myself of that because I don't look at it that way. I look at big picture. Okay. I've learned to do that in this job. It's a smart thing to do. Big picture says Auburn is a program trending up because of recruiting. And they go, oh, yeah, well, they're not winning on the field. Yeah, well, listen, you really can't get a great grasp of it to me, of what this whole tenure of Hugh Freeze is going to be at Auburn until you see his entire product on the field. If when you see his entire product on the field, it still looks like this, there is a massive problem.
When's the first year we get the first glimpse of that, Cole? Do you think it's next year?
Next year.
And from then on, the minimum win requirement is what?
I guess it depends on what you do in the next year, because at that point, when you've gotten this recruiting, it's like with Jimbo Fisher at A&M. It's the way that their program was hyped up. They got so hyped up by getting the number 1 class and getting all those guys that anything under 8 wins was a massive failure. And of course they never reached that ceiling at all. So, that's why year 3, you've got most of your product on the field. I mean, I don't see hardly any guys that weren't here before Freeze got here still on the roster by next year. There may be one, like 10 at the most, right?
Do you think it's fair to say next year 7 to 8 wins, and then the years after that with the recruiting classes that are going to be freshman, sophomore, and junior, you're looking at a perennial 9 to 10 win expected wins total, whatever the hell I just tried to say. I mean, at some point in year 4, with the recruiting classes he's putting together, when Cam Coleman and these guys are juniors,
Mm-hmm.
with the talent that's going to be on the roster in those bottom 3 classes,
Mm-hmm.
and hell, you look at the damn 2023 class. You're talking about Keldrick Fault being a senior if he's still around.
Yeah.
Those guys,
Yeah.
Connor Liu, all those guys. So you're looking at my expectations with the talent on that roster in 2026 is 9 to 10 wins.
Anything
At least.
Yeah, playoff.
Yes.
Yeah, playoff or just miss the cut is
Mhm.
what you're thinking, right? It can't be much lower than that, if at all, at that point, because that's the that's what comes with big recruiting. If you're going to play that
absolutely,
game,
absolutely,
you don't have a choice. That's the fire you're put under when you get those kind of players.
Completely agree. Good stuff, Austin from Mississippi. Keep us going, Zach.
We already know who this is. 5960. You're live.
What's going on, fellas?
How about you,
Going on,
country kid?
the kid.
Man, I don't know it, man. I don't know it. What kind of time limit I'm on tonight, Zach?
Lay it out, Edward.
You're good, Edward.
I'm good tonight, man. I just want to make sure, be respectful of your show, man. There'll be a lot of people trying to call in, but I'm optimistic, man. I get down sometimes because Edward love Auburn and Edward hate losing. But you got to think, a lot of people take it as I say stuff and I'm speaking negative toward Freeze. Why would I do that when Edward got a kid? He personally helped recruit to Auburn. He personally sold Freeze on. You know what I mean? So why would I want to see Freeze gone? I got a kid I watch every Friday night that I can't wait to see him in the orange and blue. So I'm one of Freeze's biggest supporters. If I felt that way about him, I would have never convinced my man that, Auburn was a good place for him. But with that being said, I'm still optimistic about the season. There's still a lot of football got to be played. It's still some teams just like us. We don't really know what they is right now. It's still some, you look at yesterday, nobody thought Arkansas would beat Tennessee. Nobody thought Vanderbilt would beat Alabama. I think for Hugh, the most important thing now is finishing this season strong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And building momentum going into year 3. You had a chance to do that last year, but you went to bed. But when you look at how our schedule plays out, if you can split Missouri and Kentucky, I know Vanderbilt beat Alabama, but if we get a locked-in Auburn team and run the football, don't let Vanderbilt control the clock. I got Jaquez Hunter, Damar Austin. I'm going to be the one to dictate things. And that's why I think we're going wrong at. I got Jaquez averaging 7 yards a carry against Georgia defense. Against a Kirby Smart defense, he averaged 7 yards a carry. Damar was running the ball good. And I think Uzman made the best decision to go to Georgia. The Auburn fan don't like to hear, but Hugh hadn't showed a willingness to commit to a running game for 2 backs of the caliber of Henderson and Cromer.
Mm-hmm.
You won't commit to Jaquez and what you got now. So it's hard to sell you trying to sell recruits on, a duo, but you got a duo now and not using it. So why would I trust my future with that? So, but Alabama, Texas A&M, we got them at home. We got a bye week. This is what needs to happen. I'm going to slow everything down. I need to further along Cam Coleman and get him on up to speed. And I got to design more creative ways to get him the ball. And when he's wide open, I need a quarterback to make that play. Peyton Thorne, I'm sorry, but you cost me $750 yesterday because I had you over 200. I had Josh Beard going over yards, and I had Miro going over yards. I had Cam Coleman getting 33 yards. Man, you had him wide open, and you cost old Edward $750. Well, actually, I doubled up on all those bets. I was looking at about $1,200 you cost. But I ain't mad at you.
Was it the correct route?
That's the thing that we don't know. I'm
Right.
tend to thinking that it was similar to what happened last week because if you look at the defense and what the safety was lining up at in that play, where he was in that play, it looks like Cam Coleman should have stayed farther to the outside like he did. It should have looked like it should have just been a go route, like he was bending it inside towards the safety. Which a lot of people on Cam and you on, that's a true freshman. He's gonna be okay, but we got to find ways to get him. We got to get him more involved. Thing to slow down for Malcolm Simmons. So they got to be a big part of what we do on the back end of this schedule. Because there's still some games out there. I ain't with the 3-9, 4-8. No. Old man told me one thing. It ain't what happened in life. It's how you respond to it. We ain't had the season we thought we were going to have. But Auburn, how do you respond to it now? The one problem that I see with this team, and I seen it last year, is no leadership on the offensive side of the ball. Who do we turn to when things go bad? You know, I know Peyton Thorne got the C on his jersey, but I don't think they look at Peyton Thorne as the captain. I really don't. Because you don't see that in game. Somebody got to step up. I still think we can win a few of these games, split those two games, Missouri, Kentucky. You possibly could get both of those. But do what you do best. If I run the ball best, I'm going to commit to this running game because I got two great running backs. That's the thing that puzzles me about Houston. But I got a question for Cole. And J-Head, you can chime in on this too. And I'm going to hang up. The question is, we just made an offensive coordinator change.
Mm-hmm.
We got hot shot. We got the little hot shot analyst, Cole Pinkston. We finna move him up to our offensive coordinator. I don't want to know what Cole Pinkston think Hugh Freeze should do. I don't want to know what Alan Head think Hugh Freeze should do. We put each one of y'all, either one of y'all in this position, knowing what you know about the Auburn team now, what changes do you make? Or what do you do to give your team the best opportunity to at least win you 4 games, get a bowl game, and you guaranteed if you can get 4 wins, you hire a full-time offensive coordinator at Auburn. What would you do? Not what would Hugh Freeze do. What would you do? And I want to hang up and listen to this.
WWCD. What would Cole do?
Well, man, I am glad I am not in that position. My goodness. I don't want that. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. No, I mean, we talk about this. We talk about this a lot on the board, and certain situations I feel like I would handle differently. I mean, I'm not a coach, but just from looking at it from an outsider's point of view, I'd limit the RPOs on situations like 3rd and short. I would give it to the guy I trust, Jarquez Hunter, in those situations. I think I would limit some of the gimmick type stuff. I mean, there's not a whole lot. It's not like a Gus offense, but they do a little bit of get a little cute at times with the shifts and the motions. And I like the eye candy, but just the straight run game seems to be Auburn's forte. I mean, that's what the offensive line does the best. The old school run game has been great.
Mm-hmm.
Your buck sweep, your belly play, which is crazy that they brought that back. The inside zones, the mid zones, the duos, and they do such a good job of mixing it up every week. So I would lean on that heavily. That would be my big thing. I'd lean on that heavily. I'd take the pass attachments off a good bit. I would throw more screens off. If I'm going to do RPOs, I want more screens off of it. The slants and the hitches, they're good. They need to be in there, but when they're backed off, once you've hit a shot on them and they start backing off, you hit the bowl screen. You got your quick screens to sort of get your feet back under you if you're the quarterback. Those are the main things that come to mind. I don't want too much on the quarterback's plate. I don't care if it's Peyton Thorne. I don't care if it's Kyle Frazier. I don't care if it's Tim Tebow. I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers. I want less on quarterback's plate. That's how I would go about it.
Simplify.
Alan?
I think you said a lot of what I would say, Cole. And largely, if I'm going to add to that, it's just I'm putting the ball in my playmakers' hands. And Jarquez Hunter right now, Dre, those are your two playmakers. And look, I understand completely that Cam Coleman needs to continue to develop and that he's a huge part of this offense both now and in the future. But I'm going to figure out a way to involve both of those players and maximize them as best I possibly can. I think you're right about probably trying to utilize some quick game. You're still going to need to take your vertical shots to loosen up the box. But some of your screen game, we have not tapped into the screen game a whole lot yet to this point. And I would like to see that evolve somewhat. But some high percentage throws, you're right, for Peyton to make sure that you get him comfortable early and often, because he is a rhythm quarterback. You're going to have to continue to throw the football. You can't get away from that, but I'm with you on locking the RPO. I don't think you take away the pass attachment, but you just lock the RPO. You don't let him – you still want it to look like your normal offense, right? You still want it to have that perception, but you just lock it and let him know, hey, man, this is a direct handoff. Regardless of all the other window dressing, I don't care. You're handing the ball off right here. Okay, so simplifying situations in situational football, but you've got to continue to get Jarquez involved. And I know we talked about this on the afternoon show, but where Gus had a certain number of carries, he was going to get Kerryon Johnson. I just feel like you have to get Jarquez upwards of 15 carries a game moving forward. I think less than that is working to the detriment of your football team right now.
You're doing your offense a disservice.
I agree. I mean, I feel like he has to become more involved. And I know we had 50-something plays in that game against Georgia. So you're working on a limited play script already. But find a way to stay on the field longer. If you give Jarquez Hunter the ball a little bit more, I think you find a way to stay on the field a little bit longer. It creates more plays for you. But again, you're right. Simplify in the areas that you can. Make sure that you're utilizing your playmakers. Try to utilize some more quick game if you possibly can, but take calculated risks at the same time. Do not back away from what you're trying to do. You have to take shots. You've got these weapons on the outside. Malcolm was there. If he pulls that one in, that's 6, man. So you have to continue to take your shot plays when you have them. Create those one-on-ones, and that's probably what this staff does better than anything is they create one-on-one matchups exceptionally well. Mm-hmm. But you have to take advantage of those when you get them, and that means the quarterback's got to be on the same page as the receiver, and the ball's got to be there, and the receiver has to make the play when the ball is there too.
That's right.
So it's all inclusive, man.
I like it. Good stuff, Edward. Appreciate your call, big dog.
0026. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Ben from up in Ottawa, Tennessee.
I believe this guy's the first-time caller here, Ben.
Do what?
Are you a first-time caller?
No. First time I called in, I said I was in Chattanooga, which is all Chattanooga.
I remember. That's right. I remember you, Ben.
Me too.
Edward and Alan and Cole kind of stole my thunder. That's Cole. I'm with you 100%. I think simplify for the quarterback. Don't give him too much. I'm beginning to not be a big fan of the RPO. It's just it's too much. And I know defenses are sophisticated, and I'm not at practice every day, and I've never spoken to Peyton Thorne in my life. I'm sure he has a high football IQ. His father and grandfather were coaches, and but sometimes you can overthink things. I think on that 4th and 1, if he'd have stayed with the straight dive to Jarquez like Coach said he called, if you don't get the first down, you got beat on the line of scrimmage. You live to fight another day. But another thing is, fair weather has not been a factor this season that I have seen. I would love to see them somehow work the 2 slots on twins on each side and put Perry Thompson in there and put him up against a linebacker or a safety and throw the ball to him and let's see what he can do with it. I love the tunnel screen to Malcolm Simmons. He's got that speed and he hits that. All you got to do is get just a little shadow block and he's through there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great play, and we got to run the football. When you got a hoss like Jarquez Hunter and Damari Austin, give them the football. Listen, it looks like Auburn's trying to use the pass to set up the run, and it should be just the opposite. You use the run to set up the pass because then the play action becomes that much more vital. The play action freezes that linebacker. Then you drop one over to Fairweather or Perry Thompson or what's Robert Lewis, anybody in there. You drop it over there and just see what they can do with it. But we got to use the hosses that we have, and Jarquez Hunter is a beast, and we're just not. And I think it's gonna hurt our recruiting. Like with Usman Chroma, why would he come when we're not giving the ball to the running backs but 13 or 14 times a game? It's just my thoughts on it. I'd love to see Perry Thompson a little more involved because when you open up that middle of the field, yeah, it's dangerous to throw in there, but when you open it up, that forces the outside to become open with KLS and Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons. And again, the screen game to Jarquez or that tunnel screen to Malcolm Simmons, those are plays that will work if you use the running game to set up the passing game. And I just want to hear what you guys think.
Hey, good stuff, Ben. Appreciate your call, big dog.
Ben, did you play a little ball?
Oh yeah, he's not on the line anymore.
He's gone. It sounds like you play a little ball. That's pretty good. A lot of good stuff there. Hey, I want to say this before we move on, Zach. The RPOs are not bad. The RPOs are good. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. You need to have them in your offense as part of today's football. It's something that pretty much everyone has in their offense. All right. Even what Vanderbilt was doing, they had some RPOs going with a little bit of old school flair, right? You find a way to tailor the RPOs to your strengths. That's why I was saying instead of the slants and the hitches and the deep I want the shot plays, but hit your bubbles, get your athletes in space. Something I thought that Gus Malzahn understood pretty well. Now he didn't have much past that, but he knew if I get a good athlete in space, that there's a good chance they can make a good play out there, get a good block, and you never know. I want to see more of that, but the thing about it, there's two things about RPOs that bother me. Not so much RPOs, but when you have a heavy RPO, when you run a bunch of them in a game.
Right.
Let's say 15 to 20 of your plays are RPOs. You're asking for pure perfection out of QB on 15 to 20 of those plays. Absolute perfection. He cannot be off. Not at all. All right. You're asking for perfection on the routes. Well, at the same time, sometimes on choice routes with the RPO, with pre-snap reads, it's got to be perfect. There is a razor-thin margin for error when you have a heavy volume of RPOs. That's number one. Number two, the defense can dictate which option they want.
Yeah.
And we've watched defenses do this now to Auburn since Arkansas. Travis Williams, he did a great job dictating what he wanted from Auburn. Everybody kept saying, well, who cares? The Malcolm Simmons shot play was there. Well, guess what? They ain't hitting it. Travis Williams made that bet and said, I'll roll with that. I think we can win. Sure enough. All right, same thing at Oklahoma. We put an extra guy in the box. We dictate the pass. That means 27 ain't getting it. That's where I have an issue.
Sure. I will add to what you just talked about with choice routes or option routes, Cole. Quarterback and the receiver have to be on the same page, contingent on the leverage that the receiver's facing. Because if they're not on the same page, then it's going to be the wrong choice, right?
Yes.
So that's the other part of the fine-tuning of this, where, like you talked about it, they have to be in sync, and some of this comes over time. I think when you saw RPOs kind of rise to fame, the transfer portal is not what it is now, and you didn't have the amount of movement that you've had. Guys were able to grow and develop in the same system. And I'm not saying it takes like 12 years to get this down, but it takes longer than 6 months, right? Sometimes it takes a full year within the system for guys to get on the same page. And you think about your featured weapons at Auburn this year. Cam Coleman's been here since the spring, but he's a freshman. Dre got here in May, June. Robert Lewis is brand new to Auburn. Malcolm Simmons got here in June. You know, you're talking about young guys on the outside that are still growing and developing, or veterans that just got here. So I think the RPO is getting a little bit of a bad rap because we haven't necessarily executed in the way that Coach Freeze would have wanted us to, and or to fan base level of satisfaction. But right now, I'm with you, Cole. I think you find a way to just have more designed runs, less option on the quarterback plate, because it's not just the quarterback and receiver in tandem with one another. But you take a little bit off the passing game, make it more lethal simplicity, and, you know, still have your shots. Again, don't get away from trying to develop your passing game just in crucial downs and distances. Maybe don't make the choice so complicated, right?
And let's say this real quick, and then we'll move on. I don't have a lot of qualms with the game plan against Georgia. I thought everything was pretty good for the most part. Let's say that out of the 50-ish plays Auburn ran, let's run with the hypothetical that 15 to 20 of them were RPO calls where Peyton Thorne had a pre-snap read and had to do all that, right? I'm sure they were. Could be more than that based on recent history. There's only one glaring play where he made a mistake. So you're willing to go to that level of asking for complete perfection when you could have just turned around and handed off on that play and avoided that altogether. But all of these RPOs, he didn't make a critical mistake until one play, right? So for the people asking, can he operate it? Sure he can. He's been operating it pretty well. It's the one play where he has human error, because that's something you got to account for.
Yes.
When you have 3 or 4 checks on a play, is what's killing you, and you're putting it on his plate in game on the line situations. Maybe there's a guy out there that can do it and doesn't have that error. There probably is, but for what you got right now, that's not the case. You give tough asks, and at some point, it's not going to work. It's going to crash.
Good stuff, Ben. Appreciate you, big dog.
3830. You're live. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Chris Bosch calling from originally from Birmingham, Alabama, but I'm in Evansville, Indiana now.
Chris.
I like it. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, big fan of the show, man. I had a few points I wanted to talk about. The first one is, in the preseason, I'm a huge fan of the program, and I think in the preseason, most social media or content creator pages, we all predicted our team to be 5-1, 4-2 at the season right now, and I feel like that's what everyone perceived the program to be at the time.
Yeah.
But I feel like right now,
4-2.
majority of the blame and the struggles we've been having for not hitting that mark is on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of wanted to, number one first, go to Hugh Freeze. I feel like he's supposed to be an offensive-minded coach, and I understand, the talent gap that we had, but really in all of our losses, Arkansas, Cal, and Oklahoma, I feel like the talent gap wasn't the issue with us having those losses. I feel like we were more equally matched with those teams. So that was my first point I wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
And just Georgia, I can understand, but I kind of have a hard time accepting the talent being an issue when, I feel like we've been competitive with those programs. Arkansas, we pretty much demolished on the road last year, but then this year it's, we took an L to them. So that was just a sign to me. And then my last point I wanted to ask, and I'll hang up, was just, and what would you all say is Hugh Freeze's marquee win right now up to this point in his second year? I feel like we can catch Missouri coming off the bye week, and I really feel like that's a critical point for our season to be able to get some momentum. I feel like we should definitely, I agree with Edward, I feel like we could beat Kentucky, we could beat ULM, and possibly have some momentum going into Vandy and Texas A&M to finish out the season strong. So I'll go ahead and hang up now, but mainly I feel like we definitely need to, with the expectations I think the fans have for this program, I feel like Missouri should be a winnable game and a critical point of our Hugh Freeze's second year with the program. Thank you, guys.
Hey, appreciate your call, Chris. Fantastic. I don't think Hugh has a marquee win at Auburn.
No, probably his best win is Arkansas last year, I would think. Maybe going to Berkeley and getting that victory over a bowl team. I mean, it was ugly, but if you're talking about like over a quality opponent, Cal was probably better than Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and Arkansas last year, as ugly as it was. And look, I'd take that same ugly win this year too. I'm going to be honest with you on that one. Close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and slow dancing, my man. And you'd rather win than be close.
First dates. I do think if you would have told me at the beginning of this season, I thought worst case scenario, Auburn is 4-2 right now.
Yeah.
That's worst case scenario. I thought, and honestly, I completely agree with Chris in that those losses hurt because the talent gap, if there is any, it's not very big. No. And you're playing at home. That's why those losses hurt so much.
I'm with you. And we're not alone in the level of expectation. I know he was kind of talking about content creators and fans. Vegas, who does this for a living, set the over-under at 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They had Auburn at 4-2 probably too.
Yeah, they had Auburn at 4-2 right now, guaranteed. So we have not played up to expectation by anybody's standard, and specifically probably the team internally, right? Like sure. I don't think anybody in that building, coaching staff or player, thought they'd be looking at 2-4, but here we are. And the reality of the situation is that they have to take a long look in the mirror about who they are right now and where they want to be and how bought in this team really is. Because I'll be completely honest with you. There could be guys on this roster right now that could say, you know what? Screw this, man. I'm going to start saving my body and I'm looking for the transfer portal. You hope that's not the case and that Hugh Freeze has these guys dialed in, and that if he does notice that, guess what, buddy? You're not going to be playing anymore. We are going to be playing more young guys. We're going to be playing the guys that are bought into this culture, into this rebuilding process. But to the point of, do we have winnable games left? Absolutely. there's not a game on the schedule, with the exception of Alabama, that I think is a winnable game. People are going to say it's the Iron Bowl and this and that. I get it. I'm not anti-Auburn here. When I'm me saying this, I know I'm going to get killed in the comments. We're not going into Tuscaloosa and winning that game. Don't do that to yourselves this year.
In the wise words of Mr. Godfather himself, Philip Marshall,
Yes.
and I'm sure he's not the only one, but in the Iron Bowl, and I'll say this leading up to the Iron Bowl in a few weeks, the team that is supposed to win most of the time wins.
Yes.
So,
but again, yes, you have like at least 5 winnable games on the schedule, right? You can beat Missouri, you can beat Kentucky, you can beat Vanderbilt, you can beat La Monroe, and you can beat A&M. Guess what you can also do? You can also lose all 5 of those
every
games.
one of them. Go ahead.
No. You jump in.
No, if you got something, because I'm going to finish it.
Okay. All I was going to say is that it's not even a talent thing with this team. It is a discipline thing, in my honest opinion, and they have to continue to mitigate and limit the turnovers if they are going to win, because they are on a very level playing field. A&M might be slightly more talented, but you get that game at home. And that's all I was going to say.
Well, you said something that reminded me of a thought that I had. You said something about if they're checked out, blah, blah, come sit, you're going to be with me.
Yep.
Well, and I thought, you know what? That reminds me. Jarquez Hunter, if you blow kisses before you cross that football goal line again, if you cross it before you cross that football goal line again, grab a seat, big dog. You and KLS can go over there and sit and high five each other and blow kisses to each other.
I hear you.
Oh my God, I can't believe he did that. I'm sorry. I'm an oldie, I guess. But I'm telling you what, you do any kind of celebrating before you cross that goal line?
Sure.
Any celebrating?
Am I the only one who notices these stuff?
No.
No, you're not.
Any celebrating when you're losing is the dumbest thing to me.
Yeah. Oh, I made it 31-13.
Honestly, my biggest pet peeve is like taking pictures with the other team after the game. Y'all seen this? Y'all seen these kids doing this?
Yes.
That's where I start losing my mind a little bit there, Jeffrey. Ain't no way.
I like it better than taking pictures than trying to fight the other team after the game's over. Like there was one team that did that.
I throw in your mouthpiece and kicking the football. Mercy, we gonna lose.
I wasn't gonna go there.
Let's see. Good stuff, Chris. Fantastic call. Appreciate it.
I was over there chanting with my TV. You got a bad attitude, T Brown.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments ever.
That was, I believe it was Carter on the line. Carter Malden. Zach.
Oh, okay, I got to reboot the call line was completely shut down. I got to reboot everything now to let him back in.
That's what we'll catch Carter next time if we need to.
What do you think?
There are 2 participants in the conference.
Or 10.
Well,
Carter, you're live, man.
Gentlemen, it's been too damn long. How the hell are you?
Speak for yourself.
Carter, how are you, man? I'm curious. Where's your attitude at right now?
You know, I'm in a mixture of a state, and I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this. I'm in a state of, okay, you know what? I know we're still growing. I don't want to have unreasonable expectations.
Good for you.
God, what would those wins against Arkansas and Cal have meant by now?
In Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't give us Oklahoma, like, or if you just gave us Oklahoma out of those 3, like, I truly believe that these people that are calling for Hugh Freeze's head, they need to get their head screwed on straight.
Are there really?
Because there's only so much that a coach can do in under 2 years. And I think people's expectations are way too unreasonable. I think we have mistakes that should have been corrected by now, but
I think that you've got to give the man time. Like he's building something really good.
People calling for Hugh Freeze's head at this point in his career. I grabbed the volume knob and I just turned it down.
Praise God.
Well timed, Carter.
And I wanted to ask y'all one thing before, and I do want to hear y'all's opinions on what I just said, but I also wanted to ask, who do you think makes the decision first, Mr. Nelson McGuire or Mr. Babalola?
Oh,
A recruiting question.
I love it.
Carter
I love
always
it.
brings recruiting questions.
Yeah,
That's
he
why
does.
He does. He
I'm,
puts us back in our wheelhouse, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baby.
Nelson McGuire, Andrew Babalola. Andrew Babalola, Carter, as you know, I'm sure you do. You read all the updates. Said he's going to absolutely make a decision before the end of his season, which I believe is early November. Or you said late October, didn't you, Cole? But anyways, Carter, I will tell you this.
Yeah.
I was told look for early November with him. Nelson McGuire, I think Auburn. Cole, you correct me here if I'm wrong. Auburn's pushing for this guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He does have scheduled visits to.
By the
Ole
way,
Miss.
we should probably address this. Cale Ellis today, who was a 2026 offensive line commit for Auburn, is now a 2025 offensive line commit.
Stud.
If you missed that, so Auburn adds a huge piece to its 25 class, which is already really, really nice on the offensive line. Tavares Dice, Ty Buster, Brody Scholl, Spencer Dolan. Who's the other one? I'm missing one. Emma?
Yes, the Ward.
Jacoby Ward.
Jacoby.
Ward. Yeah.
Now you add Cale Ellis to that mix. Does that mean anything for Nelson McGuire? No. Does that mean anything for Andrew Babalola? No. Those guys are still massive, massive targets. They are wanting to absolutely blow it out with this offensive line class.
It's perfect too because now Kel's in a perfect opportunity, perfect space to take over for Connor Lew at center. And let me tell you something, I love Kel Ellis. I love watching. I mean, he is one of my favorite. You know, and Chad Simmons had a little interesting nugget. He will be rooming with Auburn Live on 3 All-American Ryan G.
I like it.
Me too. And we had talked about Ty Buster kind of being a swing player in this class. Cale Ellis is a natural center. You don't have to worry about a swing player on that one. So this allows Todd the ability to continue to stay at guard, or he could move inside the center if he so chose to, if that was his best spot. But I think it just furthers, like you talked about, the depth of this offensive line class and the quality of prospect they're going to be bringing in. And let's hope that they do close the door. I'll go with, on the actual question itself, I'm going to go with Nelson McGuire. I think they're going to push to get this kid in the class sooner rather than later, and try to get him to maybe cancel some of his visits. Andrew Babalola, I feel like ain't nobody moving him off of anything, man. That kid will decide when he decides.
Yeah, I think McGuire, I believe he was at Texas A&M this weekend. I believe he was at Clemson already. He's made a Clemson trip. And maybe Vanderbilt. I think he's going to go see Vanderbilt, was one of the schools. He is the guy that they want to come back again if it's possible for another game. And, if that's the case, if they can get him back, I have a prediction in for Auburn to land Nelson McGuire right now. I believe Steve Wiltfong does too. They knocked out of the park on the OV. I don't know if he's even going to take another OV. We need to get up with him, Jeffrey, probably, and see what's going on. But I still feel good about Auburn's chances with Nelson McGuire, and that is a fast rising prospect right there.
It is.
Nelson, and then don't forget about Malachi Goodman.
Yeah, Malachi Goodman's look. I mean, he committed to Penn State, but Auburn was all in on that one. And when they're all in on somebody, the quote from Hugh Freeze was, "We're going to have a chance."
There you go.
So they're not going to give up on that. Look for him to visit at another home game. We'll see, and they'll keep chipping away there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and now, whereas Nelson McGuire and Andrew Babalola aren't related, those recruitments are completely independent of one another. I do think even though they probably would take both, that Malachi Goodman and Nelson McGuire's recruitments are linked slightly. I think there is some push-pull there with those two.
Probably won't get both.
Yeah.
Probably.
Zach, is that it? Good stuff, Carter. Appreciate you bringing a little recruiting flavor.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, wow. Man, I'll tell you what. Quality over quantity tonight. Man, fantastic calls. Let's see, Kevin, of course. Hey, man, 8-4 is still possible.
It certainly is.
It's there for the taking.
Cole from Noonan, fantastic again. Austin from Mississippi. Edward, of course. Big Ben from Chattanooga area. Chris from Birmingham, or Chris from Evansville, Indiana via Birmingham.
Yes.
And Mr. Carter, Bemerloven Malden.
Ooh, we forgot to ask about that.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Not a good weekend.
No. Don't you know he celebrated just slightly? Just slightly.
From the couch.
Yes.
He probably, he probably didn't say much. He was just looking at his phone going,
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, baby, check the score over there.
Yeah.
Mr. Pavia completes another one. Oh.
Yeah, please forgive my Facebook update.
Don't check my corner history.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. All right. We're going to be back Wednesday morning. We're going to have a recruiting show. We're going to dive deep into what's going on with Auburn recruiting. 26 commitments at this point with the addition of Kel Ellis. Deuce Knight last week. Got some more on the horizon. We'll talk a lot more about recruiting. And then, of course, Auburn is off next weekend. But we will be back Sunday night. Somebody will. I'm actually going to Kentucky. I'm going to take Brooks up to Kentucky for the youth rifle weekend.
Look at you.
So I will not be present. I hope I am bringing a big old book on back. But the fellows will be here. I'm not mistaken. Unless y'all don't want to. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And look for Auburn Live Plus shows this week as well. If you haven't already, get logged in, join for that. $2.99 a month if the internet website is not your thing. If it is, then go check out Auburn Live on 3. And don't forget, if you're in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, looking for some real estate help, look no further. Miss Jessica Angis with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. Don't be mistaken. She is a 5-star realtor. Give her a call. Tell her we sent you. All right, folks, that's going to do it tonight, man. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. We truly do. For Cole Pinkston, for Zach in the back who came to the front, for Mr. Allen Head, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay out of that left lane. See ya.